In a plane crash, my husband pushed me towards the robbers in order to protect my sister. I was covered in blood and all he cared about was her fingers when Crescent Airlines flight US 1082 successfully made its emergency landing. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but only Jonna Smith knew that she and Edmund Kane would never be the same. Edmund, who loved her deeply, had pushed her out when the armed kidnappers threatened everyone. He held Catherine Smith tightly in his arms and said firmly, "You are her sister, Jonna. You have to protect her with your life." Jonna trembled slightly, but said nothing. A few days later, she left Crescent Airlines. As soon as the plane landed, Catherine, hiding in Edmund's arms, refused to come out. She extended her little finger, which had been scratched, and cried out in pain, seeing her tears. Edmund felt like his heart was shattering. He turned to Jonna, who was walking toward them, and angrily pointed at her. "Why didn't you protect your sister? Are you happy now that she's hurt? No wonder your parents said you are an ungrateful brat." His harsh words and the venom in his tone made it seem as if Jonna were a murderer and not his wife. Jonna followed his gaze and saw Catherine's little finger bleeding slightly. A wave of absurdity washed over her. He didn't see the blood soaking her hair and face, nor did he see her blood-stained uniform. All he saw was Catherine. The tenderness and affection in his eyes were so overwhelming that it could make anyone believe in true love. If Edmund weren't her husband, she would have applauded and given them her blessing. At that moment, her adoptive parents' call came in as timely as ever. There was no concern or inquiries as the familiar sharpness rang through the phone. "You little brat. If anything happens to Catherine, we won't let you off. We raised you for years, and now you actually abandoned her in danger. Do you have no shame?" The woman's voice, filled with sharpness and coldness, struck Jonna's ears like invisible needles, causing her to wince. But she had long since grown accustomed to such baseless accusations and reproaches. Her existence had always been in service of Catherine. Catherine was the flower in the greenhouse, and Jonna was the leaf that sheltered it. Whenever Catherine cried, it was Jonna who was punished. She, the adopted daughter of the Smith family, was nothing more than a tool to care for her. Then came Edmund, pulling her out of the family's mire, offering her warmth and protection. But 3 years into their marriage, Edmund's protection had extended to Catherine, leaving no place for her. As she stared at the dark screen, she suppressed the bitter feeling in her chest and let out a sigh in comparison to all these silent accusations and verbal abuse. She was more grateful that today's accident hadn't resulted in any fatalities. Otherwise, 200 lives would have gone up in smoke. Perhaps it was a reminder from nearby colleagues that made Edmund realize his harsh tone. He paused, trying to soften his words. "Jonna, I am sorry for what I said earlier. Don't take it seriously. I was just worried. You were worried that I wouldn't be able to explain to my adoptive parents if Catherine got hurt. I understand." Jonna's voice was soft, as if she completely understood his concerns. She looked at him and even smiled faintly, but inside her heart felt like it was being torn, so painful and bitter that even her eyes burned with the sting of it. Edmund was about to say something, but faltered. He opened and closed his mouth several times, finally falling silent. He didn't notice Jonna's smile, which hid nothing but self-mockery and sorrow, as he rushed off, cradling the tearful Catherine in his arms toward the infirmary. He completely ignored the bloodied Jonna standing behind him. Watching him hurry away, Jonna couldn't tell whether she felt colder or more hurt at that moment.